And we're live. Hello everybody, DarkPhoenix here, and I just think I'm gonna start the stream now. It's a touch earlier than the actual scheduled time, but I figure why not? So let's kill that music. Awesome as it is, I prefer to have the Surviving Mars music when I'm streaming Surviving Mars, if you know what I mean. So here we are, main menu of Surviving Mars. So hello viewers, and let's get into this, shall we? So, before I just start and dive straight in and everything, there's one or two quick things I want to cover. You see, a few people are probably ever so slightly confused about the number 2 next to this, and the reason behind that is the fact that this is one of those streams I started on YouTube and I'm now migrating over here to Twitch, since I just think streaming on Twitch works better for me than on YouTube. In any case, what I'm doing at the moment in this stream is really quite simple. I'm just building up my colony on the surface of Mars. And there's not a whole lot beyond that going on. And building colony is basically the extent of what I'm doing at the moment. So what I am going to do for the moment is we're just going to load in. Just keep in mind, things have already gotten underway, so a bunch of things have already been built. And if you need any more details, or I'm not explaining any portion of this as much as you would like, just let me know. So I'll just sort of go over what I can. We have our rocket over here, which has been refueled and emptied of anything valuable. And I have a couple of different areas where we deposit our concrete and other resources. Up in this general area, we keep our water extractor, the Moxie, that produces oxygen, as well as the oxygen and water tanks. And we're running our lines from the water and oxygen sort of area down to this thing that refines our fuel for us and takes it over to the rocket. This area down about here is our current power farm. A few of these things need to be fixed up pretty soon, that being this one, so let's go and request maintenance before it breaks down. 3 of these. Let's see. Those 3 need to be maintained with metals. I also need to check out the wind turbines again, even though I just did that because I forgot. None of our water or oxygen production is having those problems. The drone hub is doing its job nicely, and we should very shortly have another concrete extractor online up here, once the additional 2 metal and 2 machine parts make it up there, that is. There's a couple of nice metal deposits down here. And I think we've located where I'm going to stick our first dome, in this general area, because that is nearby to 2 deposits of underground rare metals and 1 deposit of underground metals. All of which are going to be resources we need. Of course, at some point, I may want a dome over here, provided I decide to do that underground metals thing. Or I may want one here for the underground rare metals. Who's to say, really? Who's to say? Slow Cool. Hello. Thank you for joining the stream. How are you doing today? Okay. I've been going for a while without doing anything except repairing some buildings, so I'll unpause now. And I should probably warn you, Slow Cool. I have not played a whole lot of Surviving Mars as of so far. I think I've got 8, maybe 9 hours in this game, which for a paradox strategy game is a very small amount of time. So you shouldn't expect me to do all that well at this. In fact, this is not my first game of this, as you can probably guess, and the last one failed because I didn't get my supply lines set up in time, and basically what happened in that game was, well, I'd gotten to the point where I had a couple of domes and decent power and everything, but I didn't have the funding to keep bringing in all the polymers and metals and things I needed, and I was not self-sufficient enough. So, to cut a long story short, I didn't have the resources I needed to maintain all my buildings, and they kept breaking down faster than I could fix them. Which is a problem. We'll queue up a few more things to scan there. Let me see. How are things going? I prioritized you for a reason, Concrete Extractor. Would you guys mind actually getting on that? And you're doing jack shit right now. So yeah. Really nice of you. Really flipping nice. And I suppose I could launch this rocket, seeing as we've not got it really doing anything right now. I'm out of drone hubs too, so we can't exactly plonk down any more if we need them. It's in range of that particular drone hub over here, though, so... and that one, so maybe we should launch it. I could probably do with the extra resources, but I'm not going to just yet. What have we got stored in here? 45 metals. You guys, how are we on machine parts? 22 there. I'm going to move my rover. Oh, that's the rover. I thought it was the transport for some reason. Yeah, RC transport, move up there. Then the drones can get the metals they need out of it. I can dump the rest, and then we'll go and get a few machine parts. That should solve that particular issue. Hopefully. That's all they're going to need. But for now, let's plunk down a metal deposit in that general area and we can unload them all. Or can we? Apparently not, but let's see. You have machine parts. Go and grab some. I need those. And this is obviously the more expedient way to do it than just waiting for my drones to figure out how to move them from place to place and get hold of what they need that way. And so I'll do it like this. How many machine parts do you got on hand right now? Two, fortunately for me. Yeah, that is all we need up there. Just the two. So we can get this concrete extractor built and get on with things. Also, I'm not sure if this audio going mute for a few seconds comes through on the video, but the reason for that is let's see. The reason for that whole thing is the fact that I have to Alt-Tab out to check the chat and see if anyone's saying anything. Our low-G drive has apparently been researched. What do we go for next? I am actually going to grab the drone hub. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to get fuel compression so we can move more stuff in time. But I eventually want the drone hub so we can build our own. As I was saying, I have to Alt-Tab out to check the chat, which for me is getting rid of the audio and muting it for a second while I'm Alt-Tabbed. I'm not sure if that's coming through for you guys on the stream. I apologize for that, but I really have no other way to see the chat at the moment. I do have a really small television, like 19 inches or something, hanging around in the basement of my house that I will eventually have to get my hands on, and I can use that instead, but for the moment it's not a very big priority. And now, having this rocket here is really not doing anything for me, so I'm going to send it back to Earth. Why do these drones have no controller? Oh, I can actually reassign them like that. That is handy. So we'll reassign you to there. Let's see here. The lot of you can be reassigned up there. That solves our orphan drones problem. Now, let's check our resource levels. We have lots of metals and concrete. We need now polymers, because polymers are the thing that we need to keep our batteries up and running. And at the moment we don't have a lot. But in addition to that, polymers, we also need 10 of them to be able to build a dome. The other resources are okay, but for dome construction, polymers are going to be somewhat critical to us. Very much so. So what we're going to do now that we have our rocket on the way to Earth is I'm going to order an additional rocket. Cargo rocket. We'll ask for another 20 polymers. Another 2 drone hubs. Let's see here. Do I need anything else? Explorer, transport, etc. Let's see. I'll ask for another 6 drones. $20 electronics. What about prefab buildings? Polymer factory, electronics factory, machine part factory. Yeah, we're gonna have to ask for one of each, and that's really going to cut into our funding. We'll have 720 million available. Here's to hoping that the United States decides to send us some extra cash soon, because we're getting strapped for it at the moment. We really are getting strapped for cash. Slow Cool has apparently left us. Aw, was I not interesting enough? Oh well. Can't get it all, I suppose. Anyways. Just you and me for now, Nightbot. Just you and me. So we've got a rocket on the way to us. With some resources. And when it arrives, I'm going to put down our first dome over here.
Sector scanned.
And we found precisely jack shit in it. Nice. Still nice and busy scanning the area around us, and we found the location for our first colony. Not a bad outcome. I'm going to boost us up to the fastest speed possible for now. There's not a whole lot going on, so we may as well speed through things. We may as well. In any case, we're doing reasonably well so far. We have a little colony at the moment that doesn't have any population in it, but we're growing at an okay pace and getting things set up. I feel like when we get these resources in, it'll be time to call for some human colonists over in that area, once we have that dome in place and everything. plenty of power surplus during the day, though you shouldn't expect that to last. I'll unload those resources, please.
Sector scanned.
And you can sit around over there. Another sector with no resources. Because it's on a goddamn mountain. Great. Here's to hoping we find something more in the area that's apparently 42% buildable. We're ready to land our resource rocket. And I'm gonna put it basically in the same place as before. Sort of. We'll land like that. And slow it down, because I really do enjoy watching the rockets land. It's, at least in the early game, a sufficiently epic moment to justify just sitting here and watching it. And as you can see over here, our drones are hard at work maintaining the power accumulators, making sure our batteries are in good order. Down comes the rocket. The Phoenix 1 is coming back to Mars, with the supplies we desperately need, as well as bringing quite a lot of dust with it. Which, that dust storm reminds me, as soon as we have the resources and I picked a good spot that I want to land my future rockets, I am going to set down a rocket launch pad. Start getting things in order. This drone heavy load. Now we can get it back up again and unload all of our resources from the rocket and put them in their respective storage containers. Most of the polymers and machine parts are out. Now, we need another drone hub. We're going to put our drone hub there, so that it has the range to reach the place we're going to be building to. And I'll set up our power cable to go over to the drone hub. We need that drone hub up soonish, so that... And there we go, 500 million in funding from the United States. We're back up to 1,220 million. That would be like 100 million or something?
Sector scanned.
Wouldn't it? I don't know. The way they do their math in this game is a little confusing to figure for me. Now, as soon as possible, I need to get this dome working. The dome goes there, I think. It's not exactly the most ideal location. We're gonna have to do a little finicky stuff to get it working. First order of business, though, let's get this concrete extractor here in the right position. 434 there. And we also need a couple of concrete depots nearby. We'll start with 2. And I'll put down a metal depot as well, because we apparently have some surface metals nearby that could be harvested. That's something that should be taken advantage of. Right now, we're primarily busying ourselves over here with clearing the construction site. That should be nice. Electrical longboard. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. And sorry for not noticing you sooner if you were here before, but unfortunately, as I've mentioned a few times in the past, I have to Alt-Tab out to check the chat at the moment. I have a small 19-inch monitor in the basement of my house, though, that I'm going to try to dig up at some point and make that into my check the chat and monitor the stream from my streaming software monitor. It's not ideal, seeing as it's a monitor, seeing as it's a television and not a computer monitor, but it'll do. And we have found a nice amount of concrete in that sector. Shit for metals, though. Hopefully we can get on this soon enough. Right now, good. We've cleared away the debris from around where my dome is going up. For the time being, we'll prioritize the concrete extractor. Get that online first before anything else. I have an additional underground water deposit here I could start extracting, but I don't know that as well, actually. I have a second additional one over here, right by this concrete. But, unfortunately, right now, I don't know that I need more water. We'll see what my water needs look like later on, because it displays... I've come to learn it displays the water and oxygen surplus in a funny kind of way, because it seems to go up and down depending on if I have water or oxygen towers that are not full. They do surplus in an interesting way for those, so it's not exactly what it's saying. Anyways, we finished subspace heating, so I'm going to get the extractor upgrade so we can amplify our production if needed. I probably won't use it all that much just because I don't find it's all that handy in general, but I do like to have it on the off occasion that it's something I'm interested in. So, get that concrete extractor online, and then everyone can focus on the dome. They're bringing the resources for my dome right now. And there goes the concrete extractor. It can start producing concrete, and whoa, I almost forgot. We need dumping sites. We need them now. There we go. Production... 414 right here. We'll put a second concrete extractor. And connect it to power. I'm not going to give it priority or anything, though. Right now, the dome gets priority. Number one priority is to get this basic dome online. The cable up here to this concrete extractor is having some issues, apparently. this cable is about halfway constructed, and then people will probably start on the concrete extractor. At least some of the time, most of the resources are being taken to my basic dome, which we need at the moment. That last sector that was scanned, we found nothing, so I'm going to queue up a bunch more stuff. I'm sort of scanning in an L shape around us at the moment. That cable fault isn't all that important, honestly, because it's in a location... It's in a location where there are lots of alternative cable connections that can be used. Time to queue up a bunch of maintenance on this stuff. That has maintenance requested. And yes, I could probably wait until the buildings themselves request maintenance, but I like to go into each one and just keep track of which are going to require maintenance when I can, so that I can try and have the resources sent to it ahead of time. When it's possible. It's not always going to be possible, of course, but I like to do that where I can. That said, we're doing fairly well so far. I'm getting to the point where we have a dome, and I spawn next to a nice number of resources. If you look over here, we have 2 deposits of rare metals, one low and one average, and 1 deposit of underground metals. And the grade of underground metals is listed as being low, but they should still last us for a reasonable amount of time, and we should still be able to make a decent amount of money off of these underground rare metals, because, and I'll go into more details on what I do know when we get closer to the time when this becomes a little more relevant, but underground rare metals are really only all that important in your dealings with Earth, because they make you money. You can send these rare metals back to Earth in order to turn a profit. Because that's one of the objectives I want to try and achieve in this campaign. Become self-sufficient from resource output from Earth. That cable fault's no concern of mine right now. I want to become self-sufficient from my resource output from Earth, and not have to rely on Earth to be able to be sending me resources in order to survive. Because while I'm relying on Earth, I'll just barely be getting by, because I'll always have to wait for the next shipment of resources. Waste rock storage is apparently full. Even though we have it in other places, I'm going to put a couple of waste rock storages over here. Just so we have a few extras. But for now, we appear to be pumping concrete into the basic dome first, which does rather make sense, since concrete is the resource which we have in excess at the moment, so it would make logical sense for our drones to prioritize putting in the resource we have the most of first. We're just shy of having enough polymers in it too, which isn't bad. What's our polymer supply looking like? We have 24 now. We have 20-ish polymers at the moment, so that's okay. And hopefully that keeps on growing. We need to get some polymers into that thing. It needs 1 more polymer and 7 more metals, and then it would be concrete. And there we are. That's all the polymers we need. Just the 6, make that 5 additional metals that are needed in there, as well as about 60 more concrete. good lord, this is not a dome that requires a small amount of resources, you will notice. I mean, it makes sense that domes are stupidly expensive to build. We are effectively building an artificial environment here, so that people can live on Mars without having to have spacesuits on 24/7, so it does kind of make sense that it's something that you have to expend a lot of resources to get in place. Which, even though it makes logical sense, sometimes you can look at it and think, dear lord, that's a lot of resources. We just finished our scanning, and that is shit resources we found. Surface metals all, it looks like. Good, too. If we found an underground deposit with 19 metals, that would be the worst deposit in history. And I would deliberately choose to not build a dome near it because it was so awful. Anywho, let's see here. Things are going pretty well for me at the moment, even though all of these drone hubs need some load help. Rocket. Let's see. This rocket can launch now, and I'm going to do that. We don't need it around anymore. That drone with no controller there can be reassigned to this drone hub. Put the help where it's needed. The waste rock storage is apparently full because our drones have other things to do. Hopefully they finish up with depositing the concrete, of which we have not an insignificant amount right now. Let me check again. 400 concrete with a daily production of 40. We're not exactly hurting on concrete, now are we? How's our research doing? It has been ages since we found any anomalies, and that's a bit annoying, I have to admit. Okay, life support. Let's check out all the services we can put in the domes when we finally get to them. Well, if I'm looking at this right, we haven't actually unlocked the ability to build hydroponics farms yet. I don't think we even know about that technology, but I'm going to pause and actually check my research tree. I don't remember right now where hydroponics would be, but it's probably along the biotech tree. Yeah, and it's been a while since we've unlocked any new technologies. So yeah, we don't know about that tech just yet. And since you're here, Electrical, I just wanted to ask something. What do you think about, like, the overlay and just generally the size of the webcam and things? Because I'm just wondering, is my webcam too large? Is the overlay taking up too much space? That sort of thing. I haven't really been able to get too much feedback on the whole thing, so if you have any thoughts on that, just let her rip. I'm more than glad to make changes to it. And there's an anomaly. I have been wanting one of these for a while. Thank you. And fucking Explorer, get your ass over to that. It's been too long since we found an anomaly. I'll put up with no resources in that sector for us finally finding a bloody anomaly. Please be something to do with food production research. That would be awesome. You probably won't be. It'll be something about how to domesticate cats or something, knowing my luck. Because that's just what will happen. You want to be able to produce food more efficiently without spending power, you get a cat domestication technology or some shit like that. USA sent us another 500 million in funding. Thank you for that. We'll put it to good use eventually. Finish your analysis, please.
Manipulators held the silver white cable up to the camera just as the chemical analysis came through. We found tellurium.
In a moment, the chief engineer at Mission Control was at the communication station, urging instructions to the RC Explorer on how to handle and analyze the discovery. It was amusing to watch the almost childlike excitement in the eyes of the expert. This is a significant discovery because it allows us to overcome an old problem in metallurgy. Easily machinable metals, even, not minerals, allow for economical manufacturing of components, but the factors that allow it usually lower their performance and vice versa. Thus, engineers had always been challenged to find ways to balance the two factors. The addition of tellurium to iron alloys allows them to perform better in both areas. And we just get a boost to technology in the robotics tree. That is not what I wanted. I wanted something to do with food production, as I said. God damn it. Why can't we ever get what we want? I wanted food production, not robotics. Jesus. We need 4 more concrete to be able to put that dome together.
Cable fault reported.
Where's this at? Somewhere that doesn't matter because it has a couple of redundancies. Good to know. Good to know. That concrete is working fine again.
Research complete.
Drone swarm. Our hubs get an additional 2 drones and the maximum is increased by 80. Thank you so much. Let's see here. What do we research next? I'm actually next going to research the Explorer AI for additional research per Explorer we have. It'll only give us 100 at first, but if I ever decide that I need more Explorers, that will help. And now the dome is finally under construction, but because it's so big, multiple rovers, or multiple drones even, are going to turn up to help us out. I'm going to lower us to nearly fast speed, and now to normal, because the construction of this dome, the full, complete construction of our first dome on Mars, is a fairly big moment, and I want to savor it.
Milestone achieved. We have an oxygen shortage. We have a water shortage.
Yeah, and as happens, we turn up here, and the dome needs to be connected to oxygen, water, and power. Power I can do fairly easily, but oxygen and water will need to run pipes all the way from up here. And now that will involve clearing something. You do that. That will connect it up, and let's see. connect the power like that. And then I'll wait until all of that finishes, but I'm eventually going to, after that, not eventually, but once all of these connections are put together, what I'm going to do then is I will start filling out the interior of the dome with things like hydroponics farm, and then places for them to live. And I could put down the polymer factory, because polymers we can start becoming somewhat self-sufficient on. It won't give us all the resources we need to be able to sustain ourselves, but having polymers we can make for ourselves will be one step on that journey. And a good step at that. And now we need to be back on the fast speed again. First thing they do, obviously, is the concrete factory over here. It'll take time to get all of these power and water lines hooked up, but it's necessary. Our domes need to have oxygen, water, and power. And with things like this, I am suddenly extremely grateful for the fact that as we finish the power line, you can see how the domes light up at night, and it doesn't look like much special just yet, but when you have a bunch of domes all together connected and stuff that are then full with factories and houses and everything, it just looks spectacular, and I can't wait to show that off. But I'm really grateful that these pipes here can run both oxygen and water through them at once, and you don't need a separate line for each. It just makes things so much easier.
Sector scanned.
Now, though, I just have to wait for the metals that we need to be able to set up the life support pipes properly. We're getting there, but it's not quite there yet. Need a little bit more metal for that. We're just about there, and this will finish up that. Our concrete building up here is malfunctioned, and drones need to fix it up. But now we can start getting things working. Hydroponics and all that. But first I want to check something. How many people does it use? Hydroponics farm uses a worker number of 3. So I'm going to put down 2 hydroponics farms for now. We can boost the number later if needed. And I'm also going to build a living quarters. And the next thing we'll do after that is a polymer factory right outside the dome. That's another place people will work. We'll just deploy our polymer factory. And then for inside, dome services, I want an open air gym so that people have somewhere to de-stress and calm their asses down. But actually, that's going to take polymers to build. We're going to be dumping 4 polymers into our hydroponics farm, so belay that. I will do the gym another time. I will, however, put down a grocer and a diner over here. as well as an infirmary. The other places in the dome can stay blank. I'd like to be able to put down some of the other factories when it becomes necessary. However, what we are going to do now is build an extractor over these metals. That extractor is an advanced piece of technology, however, and operating it requires humans be present. Therefore, it's not something that's going to start being used until we have colonists here to work it. And they need to, and our drones need to clear the construction site first, so that they have space to do all that work. And it's going well so far, but we've nearly reached the stage where human colonization on Mars will become a thing. Because before now, we've simply been setting up the infrastructure to potentially colonize Mars. And as you can see, the polymer factory is something that needs humans to be there. It's complaining about lacking fuel. We're going to need fuel. It might be a good idea to start producing more fuel. We have a fuel refinery all the way over here. I'm going to put one down in this location. I'll eventually hook it up, but not just yet. Drone heavy load. Our drones do not like... Our drone hubs, rather, do not like the fact that they cannot do what they want. That is to say, have enough drones. And that statement didn't make much sense, probably. So now we're going to hook up a pipe from the polymer factory to the fuel place. There. That will let it stop being upset about not having fuel. And then, when we get humans in the polymer factory, it can start producing polymers for us. Which reminds me, and let's reduce the speed down to default now, we're going to be producing some resources as around the area this dome is when we get people in, so we need a couple of deposits. Food, for one. Let's see, metals, food. Rare metals we don't need to worry about yet. Polymers I'll put down. Electronics. Machine parts. And fuel. We're going to be producing most of those in this dome, and the ones we aren't producing in this dome we'll be producing in a nearby dome, once we decide a second one is necessary. Storage space is full on that concrete extractor. We're going to need more drones soon. That's for sure. Let's prioritize getting the housing up and running. It only needs concrete after all, so that shouldn't take us all that long. Now the connection to the polymer factory is up and running. That is one hydroponics farm there. Leaf crops. each of these need 3 people to work them. How much food would it produce at full capacity is what I would like to know. Optimal harvest would be 12. I'd rather not rely on that. I'll get the second one online, but I may turn it off depending on how things go, and so on. We have an extractor with a depleted deposit. It will stick around for the time being, but I'm going to shut it down soon. I think that's our first depleted deposit extractor that we've had. And it's something that's going to happen with concrete deposits in this game. It's why I'm glad we have encountered so many of them thus far. Because when we run out of resources in one deposit, we can just move to another. And you are going to run out of concrete deposits. Concrete in the deposit, rather, because they have a finite number of resources that need to be provided in order for the deposit to keep spitting out concrete. When we are ready, we can invite the first colonists to Mars by launching a passenger rocket. They'll have a bit of food, but we have to do that first. I am down to 11 polymers, and we're having a power shortage now, so it is time to address said power shortage. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get me another 6 wind turbines, and I'm gonna have to ship in a bunch more resources soon. Because I think we need to get a bit more of a surplus sometime soon. And I am going to prioritize construction of these things. Also, oh, great. We kind of screwed up where we placed it. So, I'm going to have to destroy the building and cancel all the other construction, because this is not going to work out. We need to extend our solar farm. We'll do that, and then I will start putting up some of these wind turbines. And there we go. 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll do this. And then... Actually, no, that won't work. And actually, I can afford to stick in one additional wind turbine. That'll do it. Then I'll line along there with some more batteries and put use solar plants there. And I would like to clear it as well. Get that whole thing up and running, and we can deal with our power at night. Let's see here. It's going okay in the dome. A few places need more resources to get their buildings done, but it's going well. And that's a couple more wind turbines online. Should be in order soon. One more machine part needed there. And half a machine part needed there. How do you only get half a machine part? Well, we don't have the machine parts that we're going to need anymore. I'm going to have to send off to Earth for some more. So what I'm going to do now,
Research complete.
and it won't get done in, and we won't have enough people the first time through to staff everything, but I'm going to deploy our machine parts factory there. Mars crowdfunding is done, which gives us 1,000 million funding. That's like either 100 million or a billion, I'm not sure. Increased research provided by sponsor. Yes, researching faster would be a good thing. It would indeed. And electrical longboard, I just want to say thank you for sticking around for this. I appreciate that a lot of what I'm doing in this game is kind of slow and just waiting for things to happen at the moment, and I'm glad that you either enjoy my company or like surviving Mars enough to stick around and watch my attempt to colonize Mars, even in the very early stages when it's incredibly slow. I'm glad that you enjoy it enough to watch, so thank you for that. And now we're going to send for a cargo rocket. 185. We don't need any more prefab buildings right now, but what I do need is a bunch more drones. So, let's see. 30 polymers, machine parts, and electronics, and 10 drones. Actually, let's check. Do I actually need anything more here? No, I don't think I do. I still have a drone hub or two. 2 fuel refineries is sufficient for now. We don't need a moisture vaporator, as we've spawned near plenty of water. The fuel refineries we have 2 of, like I said. We still have yet to deploy our Stirling generators, so they're right out. I'm going to stick with the limited number of machine parts, polymer, and electronic factories, that being 1 each, that we have at the moment. We'll stick with the number we have at present. I may update that later, depending on our needs, and I almost certainly will do so, but for now, that is sufficient. However, I'm also going to get 30 food out, because I want to supplement the number that we're going to be able to produce and what the colonists arrive with, so we have that extra bit that we're going to need. And my rocket is going to be deploying somewhere around that area, I think. because near the dome is where we need it the most right now. Hopefully it arrives soon. We're about 20% of the way there right now. About 20% of the way there. And it is the one that's nearby, which we're having to deal with right now. Okay. The grocer is done. It's going to need food. The diner is also going to need that food. Eventually, that infirmary. I hope we won't need an infirmary and no one will ever get even a little bit injured, but that's kind of a stupid thing to hope for. You're gonna have injuries probably, so may as well prepare for it. And for now, I will just continue on my efforts to get the dome ready. No need to worry about that. We've got redundancies for that particular thing. It's gone to night. We have a tiny power surplus at night. Once I get some more of my power producing buildings online, that should address the matter. Building has malfunctioned. We'll have our resources in soon enough. I think we need another sensor tower soon. What is that going to ask of us? 1 metals, 1 machine parts. We'll put a sensor tower there, just so that we can start getting some better sensoring around. You can deploy around here somewhere. Let's find a good spot. Yeah, that'll do. And I'll once again drop our speed down. When the rocket starts landing properly, and we just got more funding. Hooray for that. 1,240 million in funding. That's like $1 billion, isn't it? But yes, now I will reduce us to the slowest speed, just so I can watch the rocket land again. I mean, this may be slowing down the game itself a little bit, but I just enjoy the atmospherics, and I like watching stuff like this, the rocket coming down and everything. It's great fun to watch. There come a bunch more drones. I'm going to now speed it up. There's a bunch of resources that need to be deposited or made use of for various things, including repairs, as is the case up here. But seriously, 0.5 in terms of machine parts. That's kind of ridiculous in my eye, but maybe that's just me. It might make sense to some people. Who knows? Who really knows? And, oh my god, I just realized I was looking off to the side a little bit for the webcam a bunch of this. I'll probably end up inadvertently doing that a lot, seeing as I don't really have a way to monitor what I'm looking at realistically, and I do apologize for that. I'll try not to, but I make no guarantees. I will say that I'll try and do it as little as possible, but that's the best I can do as far as this goes. Salvage the concrete extractor that has no deposit and clear it away. Doing well on the metals extractor, and soon enough I will even feel comfortable enough to bring in people at long last. That concrete extractor is back on doing its job. Good, good. Go to the fastest speed, and everyone can have fun. Lucky for me, most of the non-functional buildings are non-functional because there aren't enough people. And we now have 15 energy production at night. I've solved our power problem for now, but I have no doubt we'll have another power problem in future.
Sector scanned. Anomaly found.
Okay, anomaly found. There's my explorer. Go check out the anomaly. And we have all of the metals that we need in the, or machine parts that we need in the extractor. It would be kind of bizarre if building a metal extractor to extract metal required you to have metal. That would be kind of odd. We just need 2 more concrete in place there. And that shouldn't take long. I hope. Fingers crossed and all that. 12 Sorry about that, folks. I now return us to our regularly scheduled event of me trying to colonize Mars and not get all my colonists brutally killed by the elements, or some such thing. I have warned you in the past of one of the consequences of living with a parent being that they interrupt me a lot, and that they just straight up don't get video games or understand why I would want to stream them. So, my dad interrupts me a lot, and I can't just tell him I'm streaming video games on Twitch, because he would not see that as a reason to not interrupt me. You gained 1,500 research points off that anomaly. Okay, find my explorer first. I would like to have them sit on a power line, just so that I know they're okay. Magnetic filtering. Which one's that? Give me a second to find it. It's the one that increases our oxygen production. Next I'll go for fungal farms, so we can have at least some food production, other than the hydroponics farms. Which are nice and all, but they take power. There's a couple of forms of food production later on in the research tree. Fungal farm and the one after it that lets you produce food without having to spend power to do it. You just need water and people. That said, it does both, 1, produce more food than an individual fungal farm, 2, require more people to work it, and 3, unlike these two, a single one of the more advanced farms that I prefer takes up an entire one of these triangles, so it's a mixed blessing all around. We've found another anomaly, so go scan it. That is what your purpose is, after all, scanning them anomalies. And we found a large water deposit over here, for when I inevitably need more water, because water.
Research complete.
Fuel compression. Okay, cargo space. And the next thing I'm going to research is the ability to build polymer factories. Because if we can build our own just by having the appropriate resources, then I won't have to spend my valuable money from the United States on things like getting prefabricated polymer factories. As nice as the prefabs are in that I can just deploy them and be done with it, I prefer to be able to build my own shit. That's just what I like to do. I could deploy this rocket and just launch it off now if I liked, but I'm not gonna. We'll add a few more to that exploration queue. And you have discovered Extractor AI. Let's see, this breakthrough. Metal extractors and rare metal extractors can work without crews, but not quite as efficient. First of all, I'm going to take that off, and we're going to jump on that extractor breakthrough. Even if it's less production, the ability to be able to make use of these without people, just less efficient, would be so handy. I could start pouring out those resources. It would be great. That said, another thing that would be nice is if there was a breakthrough or something that I could research that would let me build these extractors without having to have them nearby. Without having to have them nearby to one of these domes. I forgot the name there for a second. And we have an anomaly, so Explorer, get to it. That is your job, after all. That is your job. And I know I'm repeating myself on this, but Electrical, thanks again for sticking around for this. I do enjoy the company, even if I'm not addressing you directly all that often. And I still like having you around, because I know someone, and at least somewhat enjoys what I do. And speaking of power, which I was just thinking about because reasons, we have a couple of these Stirling generators I'm going to plonk down over here on the power line, increase our output. It's not the greatest power generators in the world, and it requires polymers for maintenance, so it's a double-edged sword, but for now, a little extra power production will always be handy. And yeah, just look at this thing at night. I mean, even when there's no people wandering around it, you can just see it. It looks beautiful and lived in and everything, and you can just imagine what it'll be like once we finally get population in place and everything. Now, let's see. Research per soul is 300. It's gonna take a while to get the extractor AI. I could outsource to Earth by spending some money, $200 million to be precise. And I'm going to do that. That will outsource some of our research and speed it up so that we can get that extractor AI that much more quickly. It's 13% done thus far, and we are working on that research. Outsourcing can get a little pricey, but I am probably going to keep at it. I really am. So, what can we do now? Not a whole lot we can do. I'm waiting for that research to finish because I want to have the ability to automate my extractors before we send for colonists, if I can. But at this point, I think it's an appropriate time to end this live stream. Because we're getting on a bit towards just past the hour-and-a-half mark, and I feel like that's a good length of time for this particular game. It's hard to explain, but Surviving Mars is one in particular video game I like to play in short amounts, like an hour to an hour and a half. I tend towards the longer end of that, but even so. And I feel like this is a good place to stop it. We have our first dome up and our infrastructure in place, and it feels like a nice stopping point. So, to everyone who turned up to watch this, thank you very much. I do appreciate having you here. As I save the game, because of course, don't want to lose all that progress. Thank you very much for turning up for this. I appreciate everyone who decided to come here and watch my stream. It really does mean the world to me that you would turn up and spend your time watching me play video games on the internet. I really do appreciate it. And if you're looking for what games and what times are going to be streaming next, you can find my schedule on the channel. However, this week's and next week's are a little bit screwy, just down to the fact that I am going to be having some people over at my house for family reasons, and am not going to be able to do things quite as often as I would be otherwise, so my streams are a little bit messed up, and I may end up missing a few that are on the schedule. We'll have to wait and see. That said, I can tell you that my next stream is going to be tomorrow, probably at roughly 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, though it may be a little earlier than that if I just decide to start beforehand. And I am going to be streaming the Kaiserreich mod, an alternate history, what if Germany won the First World War, alternate history scenario for Hearts of Iron 4, where I am playing as Russia, and at the moment have just transitioned Russia into being a military dictatorship under Wrangel, that's the name, Peter Wrangel, who is now dictator of Russia, and I'm planning on making him Tsar. Wrangel, I mean. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, maybe come watch that. Otherwise, Surviving Mars will, when my schedule's not screwy, be going up on Tuesdays. And Thrones of Britannia on Mondays, as anyone who was here yesterday will be able to tell you. But if you enjoyed this and want to get my and want to see more kinds of stuff from me, I also post videos on my YouTube channel from time to time at youtube.com/DarkPhoenix Gaming, where you can find all sorts of stuff from me, really. Mostly strategy games and RPGs. If you're interested in that sort of thing, maybe give me a look. Just search DarkPhoenix Gaming at YouTube and you should find me. Also, I announce these live streams, as well as announcing just things related to my live streams and YouTube channel that don't really fit in the announcements of either channel on my Twitch profile. So you can find me at Twitch on dark_ninja92, so look me up there if you're interested. In any case, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again for my next live stream. Catch you then, folks.